we make a little bit of blueberry and blackberry cobbler. So we're going to start with the pie crust. The pie crust is, well, it's my favorite part. So now I don't claim to be a cook. My mother-in-law, my mom, and my grandmothers, they were cooks and they mentored me, and I've learned a lot from them. So I have a few recipes that I really like to make, and this is one of them. I got this recipe from this book called Through the Kitchen Door, and this is a cookbook that was given to me by my Aunt Blanche when I was a little girl. And these are recipes that the church ladies where she went made this cookbook years ago. So my favorite recipe, and you can kind of tell I turn to it often, is called the Foolproof Pie Crust. Well, just listen to this recipe. It says, no matter how much you handle this dough, and you may beat it with a rolling pin if you like, it will always be flaky, tender, and delicious. There'll be no more patchwork with pieces falling apart at the last minute. And when you roll it, cut it, it will do exactly what you want it to do. Follow this recipe and remember, you don't have to attack it as though it was bigger than you. You can make a good pie crust every time. So we're going to start by combining the first 4 ingredients. This is your dry mix. So I have put in 4 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 3/4 cups of shortening and 1 tablespoon of sugar and 2 teaspoons of salt. And I have used pink Himalayan salt in this. I like the minerals in the Himalayan salt. And so it says, mix together the first 4 ingredients with a fork. Okay. The fork is important because if you try to use a food processor or mixer or try to blend it in some other way, it will not work out as well. Trust me. Tried it. Didn't work. So go ahead and use your fork and start blending in the flour, the shortening, the sugar, and the salt. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to turn the camera off for just a second and then we'll come back to it. Okay, now we're ready for the liquid ingredients. And there are 3. There is vinegar and water and egg. And it says, in a separate dish, beat the remaining ingredients. So here's my dish. I'm going to combine 1 egg, and a 1/2 cup of water, and 1 tablespoon of vinegar. And I'm going to use apple cider vinegar. I like it. Okay. Mix it up a little bit. This is what it's going to look like. Trying to get it mixed up enough that the yolk and the whites are blended together. Okay, and then combine the 2 mixtures, stirring with a fork until all the ingredients are moistened. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to put this together. Okay, and this will take just a little bit to do that. And I can tell you, the reason I am sitting down to do this, I wouldn't normally, but I just made a mess. But I still have a little bit of trouble standing for very long. I'm still recovering from my knee surgery, having my ACL repaired. And I went to physical therapy today and been at 108 degrees, which is pretty good. I'm working toward 120 degrees by the next time I go to the doctor in about a month. And trying to walk a little bit. Like my worst problem is my brain. It's not my knee, because it's a little scary trying to walk on something that I have told myself no for about 2 years. So I am trying to reprogram my brain and my body to work normally, and it will. I've been told that I will be able to function pretty normally, so I'm happy about that. That's good news. I'm ready to work on that farm again and be a farm girl, not a cow girl, but a farm girl. Okay, I think I'm going to do the next step, and my hands are clean, because it says, then with hands, mold the dough into a ball. Okay, so we're going to get down in there at the bottom and get all that flour and work that into that dough. And I told you I'm not an expert, but if I can do this, you can do this. I love this cookbook for many reasons. I started with one of the recipes called thumb pies, and it only has like 3 ingredients in it. When I was little, that was one of the things that my mom would let me cook, because it didn't have very many ingredients in it, and you could, when you got the thumb pies done, it was like a pie crust, and you put your thumb in it, which I thought was great, because you put your hand in something and it feels all squishy. And when you bake them, you put jelly in it, or we used to put chocolate and sugar mixture together and bake that on there, and whew, that was good stuff. A little bit of butter, oh my word, yeah. Okay, so I am going to, after I get this into a ball and get all of the ingredients mixed together, I am going to chill this overnight in the refrigerator, and then tomorrow morning I will make the blueberry and blackberry pie filling and bake it. So because it does tell you, after you get this mixed together, to chill at least 15 minutes before rolling it in the desired shape. And this dough is so good that it can be left in the refrigerator for up to 3 days, or it can be frozen until you're ready to use it. So if you're wanting to make several pies, you can, you can double your recipe, and you'll have plenty of pie dough for whenever you need it, which is kind of cool. Now, I normally make peach cobbler with this pie dough, and I've heard that it's pretty good, so so we're gonna try this blueberry blackberry. I've never really actually made this, so I'm really kind of interested to see if it is as good as the peach cobbler. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and leave it till tomorrow morning, and then I'll come back to you. All right, good morning. Now I'm ready to make the blueberry-blackberry pie filling, and my dough has been in the refrigerator since overnight, so it's still there, and I'll begin working that after I do the filling. So I'm going to turn my stove on, and I'm about medium is what I usually have. And I've looked at some different pie filling recipes for blueberry blackberry, and I'm going to add my own little twist to it. Hopefully this will, it's going to be similar to my peach cobbler recipe, and I generally start with butter, so I'm going to put a stick of butter, and I'm going to let that dissolve into the pan. And then I've got freshly washed blackberries. There's going to be more blackberry than blueberry. And we went to Scatter Creek in Paragould to get these berries. And I tell you what, they have the cutest little country store there. So if you're ever in Paragould area, it's over towards Beach Grove. Scatter Creek is where we like to go for berries, and they have honey and meat and all kinds of things there. It's really nice. Alright, so my butter is melting, and I'm going to add, I'm going to kind of eyeball a little bit, but this is about a cup. I'm going to add 2 cups of sugar to that. Stir that in. Just trying to get it to dissolve. When I'm building that liquid, that roux at the very bottom. I'm not making a gravy, but it kind of reminds me of that at the very beginning until it liquefies. And I'm going to go ahead and put my berries inside, because I like the berries to be cooked inside of the cobbler. A lot of people don't do it that way. That's okay. And I've read that if you add lemon to blackberries usually have a very tangy taste. If you add lemon to it, it takes part of that tartness out, that sting. So I'm going to squeeze a lemon in with our berries and our sugar and butter. Try not to get any seeds in that. But I did. Throw those seeds out. Alright, I'm going to turn that down a little bit. It's really starting to build up. I'm going to add about a cup of water. I've got that turned down to almost a simmer. Let that cook for a little bit. And to thicken it up, I like to put cornstarch. I know a lot of people use flour, but cornstarch makes it a little bit sweet too. So I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm going to show you kind of what it looks like. Alright, so there's what it looks like right now. You can kind of tell it's blending all together. And I'm gonna let that heat up a little bit. Until the berries get a little bit softer. Good. All right, I'm gonna bring you guys back when this gets good and soft. I'm gonna bring it to a rolling boil and let all the juices marinate together, and then I'll bring you back and show you what I'm going to do with the pie dough. So. Okay, now I'm ready to make my pie dough into crust, and I've spread out a little bit of flour on the table. I've got my rolling pin, and instead of using a casserole dish, I'm gonna take some to my mom and dad. So I'm gonna make 2 of these little ones and separate the dough. So Julie, I'm using my towel that you gave me for my birthday. So I love it. That's what I covered up my pie dough with. And I'm gonna take some of this pie dough. When you take it out of the refrigerator, you have to kind of work with it a little bit. So I'm gonna take some of it and I'm gonna knead it just a little bit and just work it around. And as the recipe said, it's generally perfect every time. And it's already starting to soften up. I can feel it. And I have washed my hands, just so you know. I did clean up. And I've got the filling. It's on warmer, so it'll be ready to go in whenever we get this done. Alright, so I like to put a little bit of flour on my roller, that way that it won't try to stick. It generally doesn't, but just to be on the safe side. Now I know there is a specific way that you're supposed to roll out dough, starting from the middle and out to the outsides. But I just kind of eyeball the dough and try to figure out what kind of shape I want it in. If I'm doing a large pan, I'll roll it out a little bit longer. And even if this dough doesn't roll out just right, you can piece it together pretty easily. It goes together real well. Alright, I think I've got my dough just about the right size. Okay, so I'm going to take it and fold it in half. Put that in the pan. Just throw it together for me. I'm going to roll up my other one, and then I'll fix the edges of that one. And just do the same thing again. I love working with stuff. All soft and squishy. Kind of reminds me of working with Play-Doh with the kids at school and daycare. We used to make our own Play-Doh and they loved it. I made one called Dinosaur Bones that I used powdered milk and honey and peanut butter. And we made our edible Play-Doh. A little bit more flour. I'm finding out that it's not quite as easy to manage sitting down as it is standing up, but that's okay. I think I've got enough dough in that one. I'm gonna work on that one a little bit more. I like the bottom dough to be a little bit thicker than that. Maybe that'll be better. Seems like my elbows and arms take a little bit more room. Move things out of my way. So I hope you guys are going to have a good weekend this weekend. The weather is supposed to be at least 100 degrees or more today. It's the hottest day this week's on our weather forecast, and this last week has been in the upper 90s or in the hundreds with heat indexes above 100 all week long. So a lot of people have been staying indoors, especially during the heat of the day, and we try to get as much done as we can in the morning and in the evening hours. Beautiful sunsets lately. In this video, I'm going to add some of the things that the farmers are doing around here to irrigate their crops, because irrigating the crops is such a big deal right now, and they have to really hustle to get out there and get their crops irrigated before they get too dry. I'm noticing some of the corn crops, especially, it just really doesn't like the heat. Now the cotton does. Cotton loves this heat, this humid. It just doesn't like it for long periods of time because it still needs water. Soybeans are doing good. They really, you can tell where the pivots go and make their circle on these crops, because it's really green where the pivot hits, and then where it doesn't, it's kind of dried out. So I'm just going to pinch around the edges, and I'm going to piece this together. Because when I make these cobblers, I'm not going for pretty. I'm usually going for yummy. I want it to taste really good. We've been really watching the stock market and trying to figure out what we're going to do on our shop house or house. Haven't really made up our mind if we're going to be building a house or if we're going to do the shop house first. I know we've got the foundation for the shop house completed, but that's okay. That's where our shop is going to go anyways. That just means that's one job done, and we're trying to do this in phases. Our phase 1 was cleanup, and the cleanup phase is almost done. The forestry mulching was part of that, and the old house place, getting it cleaned up. We still have some of the foundation on the old house place to do, but it's looking pretty good. And then the second phase was the building phase, either the house or the shop, and that was phase 2 and 3. And part of that is making sure that we have water and electricity. Electricity we don't think will be much of a problem. The well has been there since the early 1900s, and it's what my great-grandparents used when they built the house. My great-grandparents were Andrew and Maud Rickman, and so it is not a very deep well. So we're going to get that checked out and make sure that we're going to have a running well, because we really kind of want that for the house, the shop, and the garden side, because we want to have a garden area, and I like fruit trees, and my grandmother had some walnut and pecan trees on that same property, so we're making our plans, trying to figure out exactly what we want to do first. But with the stock market and the interest rates going up, we're really trying to be patient and not just barge in and use our money wisely. We want to be good stewards. We kind of
we did Dave Ramsey for a few years, and Mike worked extra job for 4 of those, and we paid off several debts that we owed, and now we only have just a couple. So we broke it down as far as we could, and we really don't want to go back in debt. That was a miserable time when you live paycheck to paycheck and you really struggle. So we don't want to struggle like that anymore. We kind of learned our lesson, and so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to figure this thing out and take our time. Hopefully, it will pay off for us in the long run by not getting in too big of a hurry. Because I know that one of the things that he taught us in that financial peace program was that when you're desperate, you don't make good decisions. So we're not that desperate. We can wait and plan it out and be proud of ourselves when we're done. So, okay, I've got our pie crust in there, and I'm going to put the filling in and do the lattice work, and then I'll bring you back and show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've got the filling inside, and you can kind of see what it looks like. And I've got one of the, I've got 2, I divided my dough up, and I've turned the oven on 350 and letting it preheat. And now I'm ready to do my last work. I've got some already rolled out for the first one. And now my lattice work, like I said, I don't, it's not going to be just beautiful or perfect. I want it to taste good. So I'm going to start layering this lattice work inside. I'm going to put about 4 strips on it. When I do this, I really piece it together a lot. I don't, if it's got jagged edges, that's okay. I'm putting 4 strips on top. Okay, and I'm going to put some tabs of butter on the top, because I think that's what makes it a little crispier. Gives it a really good flavor. Get some sugar, and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of sugar on the top too, and I'll show it to you. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. Okay, you can kind of see the butter and the sugar on the top of it. All right, so that one's done and ready to go in the oven. I just have to have
my next one. So I'm going to take the rest of my dough and add the dough that I had from this other one. And I'm constantly adding flour, I guess you noticed, so that it won't stick. And even these little crumbles, I'll kind of like to add it. It just makes it nice. So I'm gonna put those to the side. A little bit of flour to my rolling pin. I hope you guys try this. I think you'll like it. At least I hope so. After trying this dough, you're going to be able to taste the vinegar inside of it now. It gives it a little bit different flavor. But after you try this dough, the store-bought pie crust, well, it's just not quite the same. It'll make you crave it. And no, this is not a diet recipe. So if you're dieting, this is not the way you want to go. This is basically for pleasure, just for pleasure. I don't cook these very often. Basically, it's when these berries are in season. Maybe I'll have to might be the taste tester. It's usually my taste tester. He drove me all the way to Pearable for these berries. So I better make this good. And this one, as I said, I'm going to add the crumblies to it, so it's not going to be quite as uniform as the other one. But just as good. And my favorite parts of the dough anyway, when I was little, I used to eat just the dough and take all the berries and peaches and things out. Alright, so I've got this one ready. I'm going to add the tabs of butter. My mouth's watering just thinking about it. Now you could use brown sugar. I just chose the white granulated sugar, but brown sugar would be good too. Put a little bit of Sugar on top. I like that crunchy sugar when it comes out of the oven. Yum. Okay. So I'll show you what this one looks like. Alright, there they are. And now they are ready to go in the oven. So I'm going to put these in the oven and clean up my mess because I'm a messy cook. And then I'll show you the finished product and maybe bring Mike in and let him taste test one of these guys for you. Okay, so I timed it and it took about 25 to 30 minutes in an oven at 350 degrees. And this is what they look like. Yum! Okay, and we have a special helper to help us taste test. Dun dun dun! Alright, so let me get this set up over here and we'll get Mikey going on the taste testing because he knows I don't generally do that. Alright. We'll get you a scoopy. With lots of crust and lots of berries. Mainly lots of crust. Let's see what he thinks. And if it ain't good, just grin a little or something.
It'll be good.
It's gonna be hot. And I did put a little bit of ice cream in the bowl too, so.
I don't eat ice cream. It's good on its own.
Yay! Alright, there's my endorsement. But as I said, I used this cookbook from my Aunt Blanche. She went to Mars Hill Church of Christ in Alabama. And the ladies there made this cookbook, man, maybe about 40 years ago. But I want to send out a special shout out to my cousin Marilyn, my Aunt Blanche's oldest daughter, whose birthday is today. So happy birthday, Marilyn, and we love you.
I'm eating this. There's a problem with it though. There is a problem. No kidding. There is a real problem.
What's the problem?
My bowl's almost empty.
Well, we have a little bit more for Mike, so. But we're gonna let you go while he finishes up. And
there's 2 pies. It'll take me a while to finish.
Yeah, well, we're gonna take the other one up to the hills. So we will see you guys next time. Please hit the like button and share this video with a friend. If you want notifications when we have other videos, please click on the bell and they will be on there for you. Bye.